In a world where the sun shines without fail every day, suddenly everything goes dark. This is Columbia, South Carolina in 1778, right after the Revolutionary War and really before there was a Columbia. The capital was established here in 1784, but it didn't become a village until 1804. We know there were settlements in the area. Of Native Americans, the Congaree tribe had essentially moved up country to join with the Catawba while there was Fort Congaree nearby as a trading post. This was the last time a total solar eclipse passed over this land. Year after year passed. Finally, the path of a total eclipse came nearby, moving over Sumter, South Carolina in 1970. A few folks from Sumter might remember the experience. You may hear that the last time a total eclipse came across a large stretch of the U.S. was in 1918, but we weren't in it. So for Columbia, we've been waiting a long time for this. A total eclipse is finally coming to a sky near you. The center line of the eclipse, where the moon completely covers the sun for the longest period of time, is about 20 miles south of the center of Columbia. But everyone in Columbia will be able to see the total eclipse. At best, we'll get around 2.5 minutes of totality. That amount will vary as you go north and south of the center of the city. The center line, where the eclipse is greatest, is seen on this map. Remember, this eclipse is visible all across the United States, from Oregon on the Pacific coast all the way to South Carolina on the Atlantic. Generally, South Carolina is hot and partly cloudy in late August. There are parts of the country that have a higher chance of clear skies, but eclipse chasers will tell you it is totally random chance what weather one would see at any location. On that day, all bets are off, and we could very well get a great look at this natural wonder. Thousands of people from all over the United States and the world are planning to be here. Because of our proximity to the eastern coast of the United States and its high population density, we are a natural destination for visitors. Columbia is between two international airports in Atlanta and Charlotte, so that means those from outside the country may very well look here. Columbia is the largest major city in the path on the East Coast. Charleston is only partially in the path. Eclipse chaser Michael Zeiler has prepared computer studies of the population and highway access and created maps showing how many people may visit. Get yourself ready because his map shows Columbia with a low of 140,598 to a high of 562,400 visitors. And this does not count local residents. We aren't going to be lonely on Eclipse Day. So, we've established that total solar eclipses are pretty rare. But why is that? Because the moon can only be between the Earth and the Sun, possibly catching us in its shadow once in about every 29.5 days. But the moon's orbit doesn't line it up perfectly between the Earth and the Sun every time because it's tilted by 5 degrees. Most of the time, the moon's shadow misses the Earth by going above it or below it. That reduces the chances to just twice each year, 6 months apart. But not even all those chances work out because the moon's orbit isn't perfectly circular. That means it's sometimes further from us than it is at other times. And if it happens to be far enough away that we see it too small to cover the sun completely, leaving a bright ring or annulus of sun around it, that's not a total solar eclipse. That's called an annular eclipse. Annular-like eclipses happen all the time in the solar system when a planet's moon is too small to cover the sun. The Curiosity rover on the surface of Mars watched Mars's largest moon, Phobos, as it eclipsed the sun. Phobos is only about 14 miles across compared to our moon at more than 2,100 miles. But Mars is further from the sun than Earth, so the sun appears much smaller. And Phobos orbits Mars much closer than our moon does to Earth. Bottom line, Phobos covers about 1/3 of the sun. It can never deliver a total eclipse for Mars. Oh, and as you can see, Phobos isn't round like our moon because it's probably an asteroid captured by Mars. The shadow that our moon casts on the Earth isn't very wide. The 2017 eclipse shadow is about 65 miles wide as it crosses South Carolina. Not only that, but the center of the moon's shadow travels fast. It will enter the United States in Oregon at 1:16 p.m. our time. It reaches Lincoln, Nebraska at 2:02. It arrives in Columbia at 2:41. And it will exit the United States off the South Carolina coast at very close to 2:49 our time. So, back to Columbia. What will we see here? Starting about 1:13 p.m., the moon will begin taking a bite out of the sun. The partial eclipse begins. The bite keeps getting bigger and bigger. A little past 2:41 p.m., the last of the sun disappears behind the moon. The last light of the sun, shining between two mountains or a crater rim on the moon, slowly vanishes. That's called the diamond ring effect. When it completely disappears, that's your signal that you can look directly at the eclipse with no protection for your eyes. The temperature drops rapidly as we enter totality. You might get goosebumps and the hair stands up on your neck at this otherworldly scene. A 360-degree sunset surrounds you on the horizon. It isn't totally dark, but you can see some planets and bright stars. There is a hole in the sky that may lead you to a feeling of a connection with the universe. In the sky, we see a bright wispy structure around the moon. That's the solar corona, the sun's atmosphere. It's only visible during a total solar eclipse, and its appearance is different every time because the sun's atmosphere shifts around as it fights gravity in the solar wind. With a telescope or binoculars, we might see reddish prominences rising along the sun's rim, hidden by the dark limb of the moon. These are great expulsions of heated gas that blow up from the sun's surface along magnetic lines and then rain back down, occasionally escaping into space. During totality, we can look directly at the sun without protective glasses. In fact, solar filters and glasses cut out so much of the sun's light that during an eclipse you can't see anything through them. Not the corona, not the prominences. They aren't bright enough to get through. But when the first fragment of the diamond ring appears again, the slightest hint that the eclipse is nearing the end of totality, you have to go back to protecting your eyes or look away. The total eclipse in Columbia will end after 2:44 p.m., and the moon will completely leave the sun. That is, the partial eclipse will end at around 4:06 p.m. The smallest bit of direct sunlight can permanently burn the retinas of your eyes. So, how do you prepare for an eclipse? You can see the eclipse in Columbia from your own backyard. You don't have to go anywhere. In fact, keep in mind that anywhere you go to see the eclipse with a lot of other people, it's going to take time for all those people to get back to where they started. That includes the thousands of visitors, most of whom don't know where they're going. The closer you are to center line, the longer the duration of totality, over 2.5 minutes on the south side of town. Now that doesn't mean the eclipse will look any better there or any different. You'll just have maybe a few seconds more to appreciate it. Before and after totality, you'll need solar filters, eclipse glasses, or some other form of certified or approved protection for your eyes. Mylar film eclipse glasses work well, but be sure they have no punctures or imperfections. Number 14 welder's glass works too, but be sure it's number 14, not a lighter shade. And be sure, again, there are no cracks, no scratches, or imperfections in the glass. Anytime you look at the sun except during the total eclipse, you must have protection. Regular sunglasses won't protect your eyes during the partial phase of the eclipse. And unless you have certified filters, you can't look at the partial eclipse with binoculars or a telescope. The lens of your eye can focus a sliver of light from the sun onto your retina and scorch it. Because retinas have no pain receptors, you can damage your vision without even feeling it happen. So don't take a chance. Blindness is permanent. You can follow the partial eclipse leading up to and out of totality with a pinhole projector. Use a pin to make a hole in a card and hold the card between the sun and a piece of paper while you're facing safely away from the sun. Project the image onto the paper on the ground. You're not missing anything. You wouldn't see more than the moon's silhouette against the sun if you were looking straight at it. When totality begins, remember it's going to be around 2:40 p.m. The sun will be almost straight up in the sky. You'll want to be lying down, not standing up craning your neck. So have something comfortable you can recline in or on. Another reason why your own backyard might be your best bet. This is a once-in-a-lifetime event. For Columbia, it'll be hundreds of years before it happens again. So mark your calendar and begin planning. Monday, August 21st, 2017, 2:41 p.m. When the world goes dark.